Thank you, Fiona. Thank you for that introduction. And hello, everybody. It really was a long walk. Nice to see Kitty here. Nice to see a friendly face from Kalgoorlie. And also Mr Loxton's down there as well, I note. Firstly, just a couple of acknowledgements. Honourable Brendan Grills, MLA member for Pilbara, and also Peter Long, Mayor of City of Karratha. And most importantly, all of you that are here today. No doubt you're here because you're interested in Karratha, you want to invest in Karratha, or you're already investing in Karratha, and you've come here to learn today. So welcome to you especially. So today, one of my first duties, and I'm very honoured to represent the Honourable Tony Abbott, Prime Minister of Australia, who was unable to attend this conference. He has, however, prepared a message for me to read out to you, and if you could bear with me just for a few minutes, I'd like to read that message to you. A message from the Prime Minister on the occasion of Karratha and District's Chamber of Commerce and Industry City of Karratha Economic Forum. I'm pleased to provide this message for the City of Karratha Economic Forum. Karratha is at the heart of our mining industry. The City of Karratha Economic Forum brings together government and industry leaders to discuss opportunities for investment and development in the Northwest. This event is also an opportunity to acknowledge the significant contribution business makes to building stronger communities. After all, you cannot have strong communities without a strong economy to sustain them, and you cannot have a strong economy without profitable private businesses. As a government, it is our business to make it easier for you to do business. That is why we are delivering an economic action strategy to build a strong, prosperous economy and a safe, secure Australia. We've scrapped the carbon tax and the mining tax. The mining tax was an economic disaster for Western Australia. The Coalition has ended the war on the mining industry because millions of Australians' livelihoods in Karratha and across Australia more broadly depend on mining, and this industry should never be trashed by the government. We are also reducing red tape and have moved to cut over $2 billion in red tape costs. The government is delivering the roads and infrastructure of the 21st century, including committing of some $200 million to widen and strengthen the North West Coastal Highway, which for those of you who live near Karratha will know that's on the doorstep, and I am very pleased that today we've just announced the commencement of that work, which I'm very proud to say. Back to the Prime Minister's speech. The development of Northern Australia is a priority. The White Paper on Northern Australia is underway and will set out a clear policy platform for realising the full potential of the North, including the Pilbara region. Well, of course it's going to include that. The City of Karratha has a strong mining future and it should have a strong business future. Your economic forum is an important part of achieving that stronger future. I send my best wishes for a productive coming of age, City of Karratha Economic Forum, signed the Honourable Tony Abbott, Prime Minister of Australia, dated the 6th of November 2014. Thank you, boss. Very good note. So, ladies and gentlemen, the speakers before me, you'll know they've underlined the importance of Karratha and the Pilbara. I've been asked to speak on the topic of regional significance, and whether we look at regional significance in terms of the Pilbara region, Australia's northwest region, or indeed the Asian region, Karratha and the broader Pilbara are extremely well placed. Well, we've heard that this morning over and over again. It's ready for takeoff, and a huge amount has already been undertaken to position Karratha and the Pilbara regionally. But I'm not saying anything that the good folk of Karratha don't already know. They've been on this journey for some time, as we've heard. They've been at the wheel for some time. And they've reached significant milestones with the formation of the new city. And as I say, I acknowledge the new mayor of the City of Karratha and also the CEO, Chris Adams. Sorry, Chris, missed you off before. So we know Karratha has seen strong investment. It's developing political muscle to match its economic muscle. The leadership is strong, we see that. And its development enjoys bipartisan support. Very important, we all want it to succeed. But I do note, now that I'm a federal member of Parliament, that Karratha, you may be surprised to know, is a long way from Canberra. as the City of Karratha and the Pilbara, and these can't be separated for the purposes of regional significance, positions itself regionally, there is still some work to do in Canberra. I read with interest the City of Karratha's economic overview and its economic development goals, which includes enhancing the city's reputation, supporting small business. Yes, we need to support more small business, and advocating for state and federal government support. Since becoming the member for Durack just over 12 months ago, it has been my number one goal to ensure my fellow members of Parliament, primarily the Federal Cabinet, know where Durack is. Durack's a relatively new name. It was only named that back in 2010. So my job has been to market what is Durack, and in particular, where is the engine room of Durack, and of course that's what we're here to talk about today. So what my job is to do is to tell them where Durack is, what it stands for, what it looks like, what it feels like, how it is to breathe the air, and more importantly, how it is to wash off the red dust. For the novices, and I think Fiona did touch on this a little, Durack is the biggest electorate in Australia, some 1.6 million square kilometres, and it's the second largest in the world by area. We sit just behind the Eskimos in Canada. It extends from Kununurra and the Kimberley through to the Pilbara, the Gascoyne, Midwest and the Northern Wheatbelt, including the coastline and east out to Merredin. And there are some 47 local government areas, and I'm very proud I now have 2 cities to count, not just one. I realised quickly how easy it is for Canberra to put not just, if you think people talk about West Australia being forgotten, well, imagine what it's like being a town like Karratha, notwithstanding its important economic contribution. So I've had to work hard to make sure people know how significant it is. But by inviting ministers and anyone with influence to Durack, the Pilbara and Karratha, we are positioning Karratha so that people understand its national, not just regional, but national significance. But the messages that you hear that live in the region, and those of you who have an interest, we have to very clearly continue to repeat what our objectives are. We have to tell them what our aspirations are, and we have to take them on our journey so they know what our regional vision is. So more recently, we've had Warren Truss up in Karratha, Deputy Prime Minister. We've also had Bronwyn Bishop in Karratha. 2 weeks ago, I hosted the Honourable Andrew Robb, who's the Minister for Trade and Investment in Karratha. And of course, you won't be surprised, I've had Matthias Cormann and of course a very own Foreign Minister Julie Bishop as well in Karratha. But I don't need to convince them of how significant Karratha is, but it's good to see that they at least come there when they've got such busy schedules. So what I wanted to do was just touch on a couple of statistics, and I'm a lawyer, so I'm not really good with numbers, so if I get them wrong, you'll forgive me. So in terms of exports, so we know more with the recent statistics that the West Pilbara's export share of Australia's total export is some 5.64%. In terms of mining exports, however, the West Pilbara contributes 13.2%. But from a population perspective, the West Pilbara is 0.1% of Australia's population. So therefore, 0.1% of the Australian population generates 5.64% of export, being 13.2% of the mining export. Put it another way, on a per capita basis, per person, West Pilbara contributes $542,420 compared with the average Australian, which is $70,740. So for those of you who can do the maths, that's something like over 7 times. So Karratha is well and truly, and the West Pilbara more broadly, is well and truly punching above its weight and contributing significantly. Okay, so these are just statistics, but as I said, they are significant. But this conference is surely not just about what's just been happening, but it's also about the future and the current status to develop greater regional significance, more benefits and more growth. I'd like now to talk more about the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Northern Australia, of which I'm a very proud member, and the Joint Committee Inquiry into the Development of Northern Australia and the recent published report titled Pivot North. Recently released by the federal government, Pivot North is an important basis of developing the federal government's white paper, a policy paper for the federal government for the future of Northern Australia within a national and also Asian regional context. Whilst there is mention of Karratha in Pivot North, there's talk of a desalination plant, a discussion on road infrastructure, upgrading the marine support facility at Eagle Bay, discussion about the cost of housing, price of utilities and the impact of FIFO. The opportunity is in how Karratha fits into the development of Northern Australia, given the state and federal spotlight shining on it right now. My strong advice and message for anyone who will listen to me, however, is don't wait for the federal government to develop its Northern Australian policy. I'm not suggesting it's not important, it is important, but we can't wait. There are opportunities out there knocking on the door, and from my perspective, I'm doing everything I can to highlight what's needed. And I just wanted to give you one small example. It's not in the Pilbara, but it's something that I can see is from a state and federal government perspective. The state government, you may know, has just announced several months ago regarding this Water for Food project that they're looking at in Derby. We've identified that there's also federal land around the Curtin Air Base. And if you've spent some time up in Derby, it's quite a significant piece of land. Of course, it's not subject to native title, so I'm working with the West Australian government and also the local shire up there to identify how we can actually open up that land so it can perhaps dovetail into what the state's doing. And frankly, I didn't really no one understands what their role is when they come into politics. You be a good representative, well, that's a given. But how you actually work across all sectors of the government and work with business, it takes a bit of time to figure out what your role is. And I see this is a classic example of the local government authority talking to me, us talking to state, and I think throughout the Pilbara, in terms of agriculture, I think there's a whole raft of opportunities, and I look forward to working with the state and local government on those opportunities. It is a privilege to be the representative of Durack, and I would not want Karratha's aspirations and goals to be languishing, as I say, if I can help in any way. We've seen the City of Karratha's economic development goals of economic diversification, enhancing the city's reputation and enabling business to thrive. This can all be helped through the Northern Australian policy. The land, water and minerals of the Northwest are abundant, and we're on the doorstep of Asia. With its growing population, they need food, and they also need high quality food. Many opportunities for agriculture. My government is committed to developing the North, which will be challenging and will require great courage and a consistent, sustainable and coordinated approach. But seriously, we know this is a second nature to Pilbara, so this is, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. Pivot North is a consenting report with support from all sides of politics, which I think is very important and very pleasing for me as being someone on that committee. The recommendations will better position the Kimberley, Pilbara and potentially the Gascoyne in developing the future of Australia's North in a broad national and international regional context. But there are opportunities of regional significance in the Pivot North for Karratha. We talk about the creation of a Department of Northern Australia development based in the North. Well, that could be in Karratha. Federal government engagement with the state government to improve the power grid in the Pilbara, well, of course, Karratha would benefit from that. Development of water infrastructure is a priority. There's potential opportunity here for the Pilbara, the Kimberley, and more broadly throughout Durack. Upgrades of key roads that can open up areas by improving access. Investigation of the potential of the special economic zones for the Pilbara and also the Kimberley. It's working. It's working. You know, we need to give a bit more thought to these things, but there's many opportunities out there. The development of the North, as I say, does require courage and commitment, as well as appropriate policy and legislative settings and a very long-term view. There is no question that we need to make the most of the North's strengths, not only in the Pilbara, but right across the top. We have to put in place the regulatory and economic environment to support business, and we must identify critical infrastructure for long-term growth. We must encourage strategic, public and private planning and investment. That's our job and that's your job. From Karratha, We need continued leadership and commitment. The people of Karratha and the Pilbara will continue to push hard to cleverly leverage their position regionally. Just before moving on, I would just like to remind you, recently we had the Japanese Prime Minister visit Australia, Shinzo Abe. He did go up to the Pilbara, which was very pleasing. This is the first time that the Japanese Prime Minister visited the Pilbara in 40 years to see up close the iron ore that helped to build much of their modern nation. The Pilbara's iron ore has a great deal to recognise in this Australian-Japanese partnership, and this year we've seen the signing of the Free Trade Japan-Australia Economic Partnership Agreement. I highlight this today because Karratha has been a key resources player and it's poised to achieve and enhance broader regional significance on the back of this agreement. I think I've had the wind up, so I'm not sure how many minutes I've got, Kitty, but I'll be very quick. 1.5. Okay, so just to perhaps finish off on, if there was ever any doubt as to Karratha and the Pilbara's global significance, you need look no further than Chevron and its partners' investment in Karratha and Onslow. With an investment of $80 billion on the Pilbara coast and projected $60 billion worth of future contribution to the revenue stream, the Pilbara is the envy of the nation. With many new gas discoveries off the Pilbara coast, the Pilbara is beautifully positioned to meet Asia-Pacific's demand for energy. There was a few other issues I'd like to raise, but I think I might wrap up now. We know that there's many opportunities and we know that these opportunities will be realised through leadership at all government levels and also through private business leadership. I have to tell you I'm very excited about the role that I've got to play for now and into the future to help Karratha to be what it deserves to be. Thanks for having me today.